Alright, what's going on? It's a little freestyle off the dome. And it's not scripted or nothing like that. I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between a viral belief and a vital belief. It's a concept that I got from this book called Whole Body Intelligence by Steve Sisgall, right? And it's really important, and of course these is techniques, these is things that I use also because I'm in recovery. This is, are things that help me thrive. And so just jumping right on into it, determining the difference between viral beliefs and vital beliefs. Okay, so viral beliefs are things a lot of times we start with them or we get them starting in childhood. When we real young, when you was a kid, somebody told you no, right? Now, of course, there's a difference, and if you notice, if you look at your own family, or you look at different situations, you hear the people who complain a lot, who have a lot of hurt, resentment, pain that comes from their family life, as opposed to people who just they love their family. A lot of times, the difference is in the fact that some kids grew up getting their way all the time, while other kids grew up always being told, no, don't, you're wrong. And of course, a lot of times with children, you gotta tell them, you gotta correct them. I mean, that's part of parenting. You gotta let them know when they messing up, when they're not doing things the right way. But the thing about it is a lot of times parents either just don't know, they don't take into consideration, or they don't care about the fact that they're not just disciplining, but they're imposing their own prejudice or their own fears or their own doubts into their children. And so when you tell a child, you can't do this and things like that, that's when people begin to internalize doubt. And it doesn't just mean, okay, well, I got to find a new way of doing things. A lot of times it means that there's something wrong with me as a person. There's something wrong with the individual, because at some point they internalize that doubt. They internalize that no into meaning that the things, their ideas, their creativity, the things that they come up with to do is wrong. And that's how we end up conforming, right? And a lot of us walk around, we live these lives, we're not doing what we want to do, and it hurts somewhere, but you suppress it. It hurts down in there, don't it? But you suppress it and you tell yourself, this is just life. This is just the way things are supposed to be. It's okay for me to feel this frustration, this pain, this loneliness, this whatever these emotions, these negative emotions are. You begin to believe that's just how life is. And then also we constantly talk ourselves out of doing things. Once you begin to believe that you're not supposed to have certain things, you're not supposed to do certain things, you're not supposed to take yourself to that next level, and you settle. But this is also, too, what manifests itself into things like addictions, right? Because somewhere that you want more. There's some part of you that exists. And if it's not physically, if it's not in the brain, if it doesn't have to do with the mind, there's something beyond mind. And that's something that I'm going to get into later, I'm going to talk about the mind is not the ultimate. See, a lot of people think the mind is the final frontier, but no, it's not, you know. So we replay these thoughts. These thoughts seem to exist on a continuum, right? And you keep going back to the same things over and over and over again. Well, that's mind, you know. It's something beyond the mind. But anyway, you know, deep down somewhere, you know that there's got to be something more than this, but you suppress that and you believe these ideas about yourself. And a lot of them are viral beliefs. Now, what makes it viral? Okay, it's not so much, it's not that, it's a belief that's simply holding you back. Like, of course, all of us like to romanticize these ideas. We say, try and try again and just keep working harder. Just keep trying. Eventually you'll succeed, and don't complain and forgive. And it's no one else's fault but your own. And we romanticize these ideas, right? Until a point to where you just say them. People accept them. But when you really, really look at your life, right? Turn off social media and look at what's really, really going on. Most people fail to rise beyond the status quo. Most people fail to surpass whatever the idealism that they deal with. Or most people never outlive the image. You know, we talk about how hard it is to get out of the legal system, and different things like that, right? Once a fiend, always a fiend. I remember I had a homeboy like that. You know, back when I was younger, we used to hustle. And I remember hearing some of those older guys that was hooked on drugs, the fiends, and we tell them, you know, we got such and such. They say, nah, man, I don't do that. I had a homeboy. If he listened to this, he'll probably laugh. He used to say, once a fiend, always a fiend. I used to think about that, right? But the truth is that a lot of people never recover from addiction. They never make it past that, you know, and a lot of it has to do with these viral belief systems. So the viral belief is not just viral because it's what's holding you back, or because it's some negative image or negative idea that people have about you, that a person has about you. Is viral because of the way it makes you feel inside. Okay, now somebody done told you that you can't do this. You love to write, or you love to study the law, and you love to talk about civil laws and criminal laws and the sense that it makes. And somebody told you, you can't do that. That stuff don't make sense, or whatever it may be. You may love to sing. You may love to whatever it is. And somebody told you, you'll never be able to do that. People can't do stuff like that. Regular people like us never make it that far. And you internalize it, you believe it, and how does that make you feel? That's when we begin to disconnect. It's beginning with the depression starts. You know, we start to isolate, and that hurt, that pain, that rejection, and all of those things are designed to take you away. And see, what it speaks to is this, you know, briefly before I get into what a vital belief is. But see, the design of biology, and I mean for all organisms, whether it's human beings or leopards out in the African savannah, or wildlife, plants, all of it. Biology's design is basically to either help you to thrive, help you to get better, or to get you out of the way. And so when we look at our negative feelings versus our positive feelings, and we have that viral belief, this idea that you've internalized, you latched on to, and now you believe it, and how it's making you feel, right? like isolating, like not being a part of. It's draining, isn't it? Well, what's happening is biology is doing what it has to do to get you out of the way. And that's just simply, that's a part of life. People die. Everybody's not going to live forever. You got to make room for new life, right? For new projections in this thing we call reality, right? And so people die. And that's what happens when we don't take care of ourselves physically. All right, when we don't keep our health up to par, but also when we don't take care of ourselves mentally, And so this is what makes it a viral belief. Because this idea that you've now accepted about you and the limitation that you put on self by believing and by internalizing this thing, it is getting you out of the way. And that's what happens. That's what depression is. That's what addiction is. When we begin to, and addiction ain't, and make no mistake, addiction ain't just about the drugs. Addiction ain't about the drugs now. It's about the fact that once you begin to start looking outside of yourself to fix something internal, okay? See, because you can't buy ambition. I can't give you ambition. I can't give you purpose. I can't give you your goals. I can't give you those things because those things are what you already know, right? But once you decide, you make this conscious decision that, okay, well, I can't get that from inside. I can't medicate. I can't feel good from within self. I have to reach outside myself. Whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's sex, whether it's fighting, whether it's gambling, whether it's shopping, regardless of what it is, the moment you begin to reach outside of self to fix an internal problem is the science of addiction. And that's nature's design. That's the design of biology to get you out of the way. You slowly kill yourself. You slowly removing yourself, and people that get really, really sick, right? They get really ill mentally. They commit suicide, right? They do it in one big whop, one fell swoop. So when we start talking about how to come back from that, when we start talking about how to heal and how to get better, it's when we start talking about vitality. It's when we start talking about our vital belief. See, because you do the knowledge or notice how you feel when you accept these beliefs about yourself. When you decide to isolate, when you decide, well, I'm not going to do that. When you gave up on your dream, you gave up on your hopes, you gave up on your wishes. Okay, notice that feeling that you have. That's the definition of being mentally unhealthy. All right? So when we start talking about a vital belief, is that thing that's going to make you feel confident. It's going to make you feel hopeful. It's going to make you feel stronger. And I want to make this point, right? There is absolutely no reason for you to believe something that's going to make you feel down, that's going to depress you. I don't care who says it. I don't care who believes it. I don't care what is going on. I don't care what it is. There's absolutely no reason for you to hold that belief. You say, oh, I want to be a painter, and here comes that person in your life. Oh, well, what happened the last time you tried to paint something? You remember what it looked like. You can't be no painter. Look at you. You already 27 years old. So-and-so and them down the street, they already got their own paint shop. What you got? I don't care who talks to you like that, what their position is in your life, what their role is, how much you think you love them, whatever. There is absolutely no reason for you to believe that. And the bottom line is because what is it doing to you? Are those words they giving you, is it helping you to thrive, or did they just tell you something that made you feel depressed? Man, that's what I used to hate, man. I just hate to see people, they talk to children and talk children out of doing things they want to do. You know, they light up, this child lights up when they see something and you discourage them from that. Well, it might not even have been about the thing because, see, let me tell you something. Let's go with the painting scenario. If I'm interested in painting, okay, I don't necessarily have to be the next Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, I don't have to be the next Picasso. Maybe there's some other job in the art field I might get. Maybe I could be really good at collecting, deciding what art is worth money and what's not. It's a ton of things, and see, creativity is unlimited. So for a person to come to you and tell you what you can't do, and that's it, especially when they don't see, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. Most people don't know what you need to do. Most people don't know what you need to do, and you don't need to listen to them. Most people barely know what they need to do. They can barely figure out themselves in their own life. So it's really pointless to listen to a person if they criticizing you, first of all. But definitely if they criticize you and don't have anything positive to add to it. Like, you know, here's my suggestion, maybe X, Y, and Z. There's absolutely no reason for you to listen to that person. There's absolutely no reason for you to listen to information that takes you out of the game, or that's making you feel depressed, that's making you feel sad, that's making you feel down. None. Because it's not helping you thrive, you know? And so a vital belief, these vital beliefs, man. And see, a lot of times, see, it goes deeper, man. I'm going to get down and, you know, and share some of my thoughts. Because, see, with me, a lot of times, you know, I get angry. And so if you like me, if you've experienced this, then check me out. Because I get angry. And a lot of times my viral beliefs have to do with me acting out, you know, me doing something. And see, the thing about recovery is this. Like I said before, I'm in recovery also. But addiction has a way of not taking things from you, but causing you to give things away. You'll give away so much. And so in recovery, when you begin to get that confidence back, then in comes the ego, right? Man, if you would have told me 20 years ago, okay, if you'd have told me, let's say in August of the year 2000, right, I came home from prison, man, and I was so headstrong and I was so optimistic about what I wanted to do, but I just didn't have the know-how. I was hooked up with the wrong people. I mean, I was surrounded by the wrong influence, and the wrong influences don't always mean people, the crooks and the people, the gangsters. That's not always just, I mean, those can be bad influences too, but sometimes the wrong influences could come in a disguise, could come in the form of people who you think are good people, and they may very well be good people, may or may not be good people, but the bottom line is, what is the influence? You know, are they feeding you these viral beliefs? You see, because you're around people, if you can't connect with them, and then it's always some type of way where they're trying to convince you other than or out of who you are and what you want to do, then it's not helping you. So you got to analyze that, man. But if you would have came up to me back then and told me everything that I would go through in the next 20 years, man, I probably would have punched you in your mouth. I mean, for real. For real. And so in recovery, you begin to get that confidence back. That strength, that determination, and a lot of that stuff. And also, too, is, and what I emphasized in 10 points of recovery is how to avoid the trap of allowing that confidence to lead you back into addiction, because that's the cycle of addiction also. And that's what happens to a lot of us. We get some clean time, we start to feel good again, and before you know it, you've picked up. You forgot the pain of addiction, and you start with a drink, a bottle, a little bit of weed or whatever. Before you know it, you in deeper than you was before. But you get that confidence back, and then enter the ego. The ego comes back, and a lot of those things that I gave away, I want them back. I want them back. Sometimes I think about, approaching people from a couple years ago, like, yo, you remember, I might have all kinds of thoughts. You know how we romanticize violence sometimes. And, I got to examine that. I got to examine it. I got to wait. It's like, yo, Jay, man, like, is this a viral belief that you have here? Because, see, first of all, I don't need nothing. I know how to manage my money. I understand the fact that, it don't matter what your income is. It don't matter what your budget is, okay? You don't have to live check to check. I don't care what your income is. And you can have something on any budget. You can have something. And so I don't need nothing from nobody. Yeah, in my addiction, criminal lifestyle and just, dereliction being out there. It's times when I lost things, and sometimes you look at things, you look at your life and you're like, man, believe I let that person get away with this. I let her do this. I let that chump do that. And you wants to go do something, right? And so you got to analyze it, and you got to weigh out those options, because life is real and we all grown. And the judge don't care nothing about what happened a couple years ago, 10, 15 years ago. The judge don't care about that, right? And so you got to analyze that thing and ask yourself, is it really, really worth it? And then another thing, too, is that conscience. That conscience. A lot of times, we have loved ones, like I got loved ones, right, who are not conducive to the things that I want to do. At the same time, I still love them. I still love them. I've known them all my life, but I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to be around you because I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to do. I know when you stand. You've made it abundantly clear to me what your stance is. And so you got to weigh these options when it comes to that, because there's hurt and there's pain when it comes to addiction. A lot of times that common thread that we have as addicts and people who had substance abuse issues is family. Right? And we got these resentments and we got these pain towards family, and so we got to analyze the viral belief. If I cuss out my family members about something that happened or what they did or where they stand, how is that going to make me feel? And regardless of what happened, regardless of what they've done, if I act out and I act a fool about it, is that going to help me? Is that going to be a viral situation, or is that going to be a vital situation? And so when it comes to these instances, man, when dealing with this anger, you know, with these situations, what I found is that it's always best to look towards the vital. Revenge ain't always the best thing. See, because revenge is wanting. Revenge is, again, reaching outside of self for something within. See, once I become okay with self, right, that stuff don't even matter. You know, people ran up on me that I ain't want to talk to. I realized I don't have to talk to them. You know. The funny thing about that, man, is most of the time people ain't talking about nothing, right? You know, you get into these conversations with these people and you know beforehand they ain't got no money for you. They're not giving you anything. And then you know where they stand. You've heard what they got to say 500,000 times. And so you pretty much know where the conversation is leading. The only reason why you want to have a conversation with them is so you can make this point or get this point across. But you don't understand the fact that it doesn't matter what your point is. Most of the time, people have already made up they've already made up their minds about you. You know, once a person takes a position, and getting back to mind theory, once they take a position about you, it's set. The only thing that you have to gain from an argument is pissing them off even more. If you win the argument, it's not trust and believe. They're not going to say, you want to know what? You're right. I'm going to change the way I deal with you from now on. No, that's a fantasy. What's going to happen is, yeah, whatever. And they're going to go try to figure out a way to get you back. So you got to think about, or they're going to try to figure out a way to solidify that point of view that they had, right? And so you got to think about that, to have one of these conversations with these people. And a lot of times their family, their friends, might be your spouse, your partner, or whatever. You got to think about that. What am I going to gain from it? If there's no immediate reward, you're not getting paid for it. I mean, if you had a talk show, but if you're not getting paid for it, but then there's also the residual. You had this conversation, you had this argument, and whether you get the best of them in the argument or they get the best of you when the argument is over, you got to process that information. And you process it. And a lot of times we figure out stuff, we catch meanings of what people said after the conversation is over, right? After the smoke clears, then you sit there and it's like, I can't believe they said such and such. And that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that we got feelings and emotions. So now, not only do you have to process this conversation, this argument, but you also got to process your own feelings about it. And that's what keeps people stuck for years, ain't it? And you start getting into the overthinking and the resentment and the pain, and you sit up here 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and you still upset about what happened from the past. You know, suffering is all a matter of perspective, you know. And so that's why it's important to ask yourself, should I even engage in that? You know, with me, the lifestyle that I left, I know better, you know, because a lot of dudes I know in the street, there can't be no talking. And, you know, if I go do something, I'll be back in the system. And that's not something that I'm, you know, willing. That's not something that I'm willing to sacrifice at this point. So a lot of that too, you know, and I've gotten to the point, man, where I realize I understand the streets is pretty forgiving. Streets don't care, you know. So it ain't like I got nobody to worry about. I ain't worried about nobody doing nothing to me. You know, I don't think nobody out there mad at me. But I make sure it stays that way. Or at the very least, I'm not going to start no new drama with nobody else. And that's how I keep that viral belief at bay. You know, I paid I paid a little bit too much for the onion one time. I mean, hey, it's water under the bridge, and that's not my lifestyle anymore, so it's okay. And that's when it becomes a vital belief. See, once I understand the things that's going to help me succeed, the things that's going to help me along in my journey, once I really, really gain that understanding, it feels good. It's like a door unlocks. You become enlightened when you really, really understand that going to war with these people in the street is senseless. When I really, really understand that I don't owe my family nothing. I don't owe it to them to sit around on the holiday and recycle all the same trauma that I experienced for years and years. I don't have to do that, and not in an angry way, but in an enlightened way, like, it's okay. It's okay. Now, whether or not they understand that is a different story, but I can let them know in a way where I don't have to engage, and jump back into one of those conversations or this argument where I find myself trying to prove my worth again, right? It goes back to that childhood viral belief. Now here, I got to prove to you why I feel the way I feel. You're going to tell me why I shouldn't feel that way. I don't have the right. Maybe our relationship has come full circle. Maybe our relationship has come full circle, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And so, I'm working on now, man. I'm just working on learning to recognize better relationships with people. And I come from that background. I wrote 10 Points of Recovery, man, for people that come from that. I didn't call it recovery from dereliction, addiction, and hopelessness because I just thought it sounded good. I named it that because that's where I came from, and I was there, man, regardless, man, wherever you at, whether you in the trap hustling or you in the trap smoking, you sitting on a bench somewhere, you ain't got nowhere to go. You don't know where you want to go. I've been there, man. You in a job, dead-end job, and you don't know which way you're going to go. I've been there. You in one of these painful relationships, you keep finding yourself right back. I've been there too, and so where I'm at now, man, is, I got it together as far as me. I got me, and now I'm back on track, and I'm growing every day, is enlightenment, and self-improvement, and it's beautiful. And, I'm learning new lessons. And so now it's just about, recognizing, better influences and better people, not necessarily better people, but the signs to recognize, because maybe there ain't no such thing as a good person or a bad person. Maybe it's just all about what you accept from people. Because I've always noticed that people can be cold and they can be warm. When you first meet a woman, she laugh at all your jokes and she love you to death. Then somewhere through the middle of the relationship, you ain't so funny no more. You think you funny. So maybe there's no such thing as good and bad people. Maybe it's just how you deal with self, how you operate, and what you accept. It ain't about who they call you, it's about what you answer to, right? And so that's vital information. You know, that viral shit is the stuff you get from the rap music and these movies and all this stuff that's going to lead you to a dead end. The stuff that make you feel inside like you got to do something. I got to hurt somebody. I can't believe yo said such and such. And that stuff hurts and it burns. That's because it's viral. That's biology getting you out of the way. What you need is vital information. It's the stuff that's going to help us thrive, right? And so check out 10 Points of Recovery. Hey, December. How you doing? And so I've been talking myself. I've been talking to y'all to death. And I'm going to get on out of here, man. Peace.